friends, welcome to another episode of the Cozy Cottage Crochet Podcast. My name is Hannah and this is a podcast all about crochet, a little bit of knitting, sometimes sewing, and generally living the yarniest life possible in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live. Y'all, has it not been a crazy 2 weeks? Like, what is even happening in the world? Everything is out of control. And you know what? We're going to podcast anyways because I have so much to tell you. I've been getting a lot of work done on my crochet and knit projects, and I have some special announcements. So if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed or cooped up in your house, just let that subside for a moment. Let's craft a little bit together. If you're a returning viewer, grab your favorite project, grab a drink of something that you like, put on your pajamas. I personally am clearly wearing a Scooby-Doo shirt, but also yoga pants because I have been working from home since last Tuesday. So these are my daytime pajamas, and then later tonight I'll change into my nighttime pajamas. So grab your favorite drink and settle in. We will chat together. If you're a new viewer, welcome. What a time to be alive. And on top of all the crazy virus stuff going around, the pollen is still ruining my life. I went for a walk outside today around the block, and it was good for my mental health. It was bad for my physical health because now my nose will not stop running. I am not sick, okay? It's just allergies. I'll just be sipping on some water. So if you're looking for me anywhere on the interweb, you can find me as The Cozy Cottage Crochet on Instagram, on Facebook, and The Cozy Cottage on Ravelry. We do have a Ravelry group for this podcast. I just almost knocked my water cup over. That's how today's gonna go. So exciting. And we have some make-alongs going on, which I will talk about in a moment. I will talk about one particular make-along called the Wizarding Mal 2020. That is a mal that I am hosting with Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast, who is fabulous. And if you don't watch her podcast, you definitely should. But it is March, so that is a sock and sewing themed make-along for the entire year of 2020. So we are in March. That means you could have 3 sock entries. Well, I guess you could put more than one if you wanted. I have the finished objects thread, and she has the chatter thread for this make-along. And at the end of March, which will be next week, I will be drawing a prize for the first quarter, and she will be drawing a prize as well. Speaking of prizes, I have a prize winner to announce. The Box O yarn that I crammed 10 cakes of yarn into in the last podcast episode for the 8,000 subscriber giveaway. I have picked a winner from the Ravelry thread. It is post number 3, Angelic Embers, and your name is Nicole. I already sent you a Ravelry message. I'm recording this on Wednesday because that's just how my life works, y'all. And we will... If you get back to me, send me a message with your full name and mailing address. I will get that in the mail as soon as I can. As of right now, the mail is still running where I live. But hopefully you get back to me before anything else happens, because I know in some places they're having reduced hours, and of course I am working, so it's hard for me to get there during the day. And I don't have a post office that has one of those like weigh your package and mail it and like electronically. I have to like go in and talk to people. So congratulations. Thank you everyone who commented with what your favorite pattern to make was. Some wonderful ideas in that thread, and very excited for you, Nicole, to have 10 cakes of yarn on the way to you. I also want to give a shout out to a viewer of this podcast named Samantha, who is turning 28 or turned 28. I believe your birthday is either this week or it was last week. And I'm so sorry that you have to stay inside, but happy birthday from me, happy birthday from the Cozy Cottage Crochet community, and hopefully we will be able to get through all of this together. Now, I have many things to talk about. So I'm just gonna start with something very exciting. You may notice that I am wearing a hat. This is the only yarn I'm wearing today because it's actually pretty warm in Florida now. It was 82 degrees today. It's beautiful in the shade and there's a breeze, but in the sun, it's like a little bakey. When I was taking my walk, I was like, ooh, I should have put on some sunscreen because I can literally feel my skin frying, but it's okay, it's only 10 minutes. So this is my November Sky Beanie. If you've been here a long time, you will know that this is a pattern that has been in the works for literally a year and a half. in October of 2018, my husband and I went to the UK. I always wanted to go, especially, I'm gonna adjust myself, especially to Ireland. And I got some yarn while I was there. I got one cake of Malabrigo Arroyo. Is that right? This Malabrigo is the colorway Anniversario. And I knew that it was going to be a hat pattern. So when I got home, I started it, and then I did this part, which you can barely see because it's texture on a variegated pattern. So I did this pattern, and then I couldn't figure out the decreases. So for literally like a year, it sat there until one day I got a stroke of inspiration, and I tried something and it didn't work, and I frogged it. So that happened multiple times. And then finally it worked, and I finished it, but then I had to work out the math for the pattern. So that took another 6 months, and I am thrilled to say that this pattern is officially released on Ravelry right now. This is the November Sky Beanie, and let me show you the actual pattern sample that I worked up in this green. This is Barocco Vintage DK. Here you can see what the decreases look like. It is in 4 sizes. So this pattern comes in size for a child, teen, a small adult or female, a large adult or male. It also comes in 3 levels of slouchiness for each size. So this obviously is a short slouch version. All 3 of these are, because I'm going to wear them. And I don't love fitted hats. But you can make a fitted hat, you can make a short slouch, or if you want like one of those really long slouchy hats, you can make that as well. There's instructions. There is a photo tutorial on how to do these pattern rows. There is, of course, my stitch and row counter, which I like to include in all of my patterns so you can keep track of where you are. And I just am so excited, I can't stand it. I thank you so much to all of my I just mixed up test knitters, test crocheters, and tech editor. I was gonna say test editors. Thank you to all of my testers who tested this pattern. I had someone test each size of the hat, and no one had any major issues with the pattern. And in fact, several people had not done cables before, and they said they found the photo tutorial very helpful, which made my day. And then of course I got it tech edited, as I do all of my patterns, and it is now live on Ravelry. Oh man, and I'm not gonna take this one off, but I'll turn my head so you can see it, because you don't know what my hair looks like under here, okay? I've been wearing this for a while now, and my hair tends to go flat when I'm wearing a hat. So a couple of things that I want to say. Is this my first pattern release of the year? It actually might be my first pattern release of 2020. It's been a crazy year, y'all. So this is the November Sky Beanie, and it's worked bottom up. And so I'm trying something entirely new with this design, and that is I am going to a pay what works / pay what you can model for this hat. So as you know, if you've been around for any length of time, I like to price my patterns at a price point that is accessible to as many people as possible. And that has equated to me pricing them fairly lowly, which is still totally fine. I totally understand that everyone is on different ends of the spectrum and anywhere in the middle as far as accessibility and what you are able to pay for a crochet pattern. So what I have done is switch to something that I've seen a lot of knitwear designers do, and it's called the Pay What Works model. So there are different tiers of payment, and there will be coupon codes listed on the Ravelry page that will give you the coupon code. You just enter the code, and that will reduce the price to whatever that amount is. So for example, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what's on my Ravelry page. You can go see it. There'll be a link down to it below. But you know I always try to be as transparent as possible. So I'm just gonna tell you what's on the Ravelry page. So this hat pattern is listed for $7.50. There are coupon codes that will reduce it to $5.50 and to $4. $5.50 and $4. And those are right on the pattern page. It's the first thing you will see. If you look in the notes, there will be coupon codes for that. If you pay the full price of the pattern, you will not need to use a code. So that is right on the pattern for anyone who comes to that website. Now, of course, you also know if you've been around that I do like to offer a coupon code that usually is $1 off the total price of the pattern, which of course I have not been using a Pay What Works model previously for 1 week from the pattern release date. So I'm still going to do that. It will only be a code that is on the screen. So if you want this code to have $1 off the lowest price of the pattern, which should be, it'll either be $3. See, now I'm getting confused as to what it is. It'll either be $3 or $3.50. I was spending some time this morning trying to upload photos to Ravelry and it wasn't working, and now I'm a little like, I have to go back and do that tomorrow. But basically, if you put in this code, it will take the price down from the top price to $1 below the lowest price. And that is for 1 week. And this code will be on the screen right now. And it will be good from 1 week from today, which will be next Saturday, April something. I don't know. I'll put it on the screen. I don't even know what today is. The 26th? 25th? I don't know, of March. Everything blurs together when you stay inside. So I'm just testing that out to see how it will work. This is something that I would really like crochet design to be part of my life going forward. And by part of my life, I mean part of the way that I can support my family. So up until this point, it has supported this podcast. So basically what I do with the sales from the yarn, the sales from the patterns, is I pay for shipping costs for the podcast. I also pay for prizes sometimes, and I will pay for yarn for designs. So this yarn I purchased with money from patterns, which was fantastic. So I'm trying to see what it would look like if I was able to expand that business a little bit and use it to help support my family, especially with things the way they are right now. So very excited. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this, if you're on board with it. And please know that there is no shame at all. I have nothing against you if you pick the lowest price model. There is a reason that it is there, because I remain and I will always be committed to making my crochet patterns accessible to everyone, no matter their budget. So yeah, that was long and rambly, but I'm literally so excited. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. And also, it just feels really good to have something accomplished. It's been a couple weeks. It's not since something was accomplished, but since all of this really like came to a point. There just hasn't been a lot of mental space to do a lot of extra things. And I'm just really, really thrilled to have this year-and-a-half long project, year-and-a-half long design at a point where it is ready to be released in the world and I can actually wear it. And I'm just so, I know I keep holding it up. I'm just so stinking proud of it. So, and I know many of you have been waiting very, very, very patiently for this design, and I appreciate all of you so much. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate all of my testers and my tech editor, and just fabulous. So that's enough of that. Shall we move on to what I have been making? Up first, you may notice that this bag seems like it doesn't have anything in it, and that is because I have a finished object. And this is the Soft Gray Cardigan, which is a pattern by Kat Golden. It is a pattern that I got out of an issue of Simply Crochet magazine. I used Bluette Gems 100% merino wool yarn in the colorway Eggplant. I believe I have 12 of these skeins, I'm pretty sure. This is how much I had left. This is maybe like 20 grams. It's very squishy. It wasn't wound very tightly, so maybe 20 grams. And so I had purchased 7 skeins of this yarn originally for my birthday in 2018. So this pattern, almost 2 years, a whip. And then I knew I was gonna run out of yarn and I didn't know what to do with the pattern. And then a lovely viewer of this podcast named Amanda sent me an additional 5 skeins of the yarn. And then I have used almost every single yarn. But it's officially done. I can't even tell you how excited I was to get this done. And then of course I had to block it again and weave in the million billion ends and wait 3 days for it to dry because it's very heavy. Now, I will say, I do not recommend the pattern for many reasons, but there's a lot of errors in the pattern. It assumes that you know a lot of things. And for one thing, the yarn requirements are very, very off. Secondly, I don't really recommend the yarn. It is a very beautiful, beautiful color, and it looks amazing in this Tunisian crochet. I think it would look very, very good knit as well, but working with it, it splits like nobody's business. And also in most of the skeins, there were at least one knot or two knots in some of the skeins, and not actual knots where they tied it. They literally like tried to felt the ends together, and it didn't work because this is superwash. So it was like this giant fuzzy blob, which I had to cut out. So it ended up being way more ends than I would have preferred for something of this size. And I just can't recommend the yarn in good conscience. Maybe the yarn is just too fragile for their spinning and winding process. I don't know, but it also is going to pill like nobody's business. I can guarantee you. Now, I don't know if this particular cardigan's going to pill because I don't know how much wear it's going to get. But I just am putting a PSA out there about this particular yarn. It is absolutely beautiful, but I don't think it's worth the money. And I hate to say that, but I've worked with it for 2 years in a row now, and I don't think it's worth the money. So this is the cardigan. It is finished. All of the ends have been woven in, and you will even see, like right here, you see how the ends are kind of poking out a little bit? Because this yarn is so slippery. Oh, there's another one right there. 2 rows later, because there was a knot. Because this yarn is so slippery, I was really worried about these ends kind of working their way out. So I left about 1 inch on the inside of each one, and they're already coming unraveled, and that actually makes me happy because that means they won't work their way out. So let me put it on and show you what it looks like. All right, so the sleeves fit all the way to here. Right here, I feel like it needed more, and maybe I should have kept increasing, but it's a little tight right across my upper arm. And you will remember that I ripped this back. So originally I did like 1 inch, and then I did the decreases, and it was way too tight in the underarm. So I ripped it back to here, added another inch, and now the underarms fit really, really well, but still right here across my arm is a little bit tight. You can see that it goes down almost past my butt. So it's quite a long cardigan. It is very, very beautiful, but it does not close. And the only way I think it would be able to close, let's see if I can like stand halfway up, is if I put some kind of toggle closure here. That's the only way it could close, because across my bust, it would really, really look weird. And then if I had another button here, it's gonna like do that, which is not a good look. And also because it's so long, I don't wanna have any buttons at the bottom, because then there's no increases for my hip. So I made the collar 1 row longer, or 1 extra row than was called for. I was not sure that I could squeeze out another row out of what yarn I had left. After I bound it off, I was like, okay, I probably could have squeezed out 1 more row, but that would have been pushing it with the bind off, I think, because this row has like 500 stitches on the collar. So this is the texture. It's very beautiful. I like the collar. It matches the sleeve cuffs. I mean, the collar is really, really high, but no one of course would wear it like that. You kind of fold it over. So, I mean, it's really beautiful. I do think I'm going to put some kind of closure right here, just so it stays, because it's a raglan and because these side panels are not wide enough for this area of my body. The bust measurement did not calculate like boobs, I guess, for this is a men's pattern, which normally is totally fine. I wear men's t-shirts and, or I should say unisex / men's t-shirts or hoodies and stuff all the time. I never have a problem. But this particular pattern was literally like it is designed for no shaping whatsoever here. So I think I will be very happy with it once it has a toggle closure right here, because then when it's cold, I can actually wear it, maybe with a hat, and it will be more like a coat. I don't know when I'm gonna wear this. I'm a little warm right now wearing it, but because it's wool, it's of course not quite as hot as an acrylic would be. And it's not itchy at all, even though it's like I can feel it a little bit on my underarm. Here's the sleeve seam. I just did a mattress stitch, which is that's a pretty intense seam if you ask me, but it's on the underside, so it don't really matter. I think it will pill a lot under here, but I'm going to add a toggle closure, and then I'm gonna store it until the winter and see what happens. It is just a beautiful color, and I wish that this panel was bigger or that my boobs were smaller, because if I could close this like this and just wear it, this is my color. This is what it should be. It's so beautiful, but it's not gonna work. It's gonna have to be like this, and maybe if I wear black underneath, it'll look super classy. I don't know. But this is the end of the saga of the yarn sausage, you guys. Oh, I can't believe it's done. I can't believe it. When it finished and I wove in all the ends and I pinned it all, like literally I used like 200 pins pinning this thing out because I was stretching it within an inch of its life, trying to get these fronts to give me more width. And after I put it and I pinned it and I put it in the spare bedroom to dry, and then I was literally like hopping around the house, and my husband was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "You don't understand, because this sweater is finally done." And he was like, "Actually, I do understand, because I've been listening to you complain about it for 2 years." So he gets a break as well now that it's done. So I'm really, really happy. I think maybe I'll just get used to the sleeves. I don't know. I can feel it that it's tight right here when I go like this. I mean, it's wool, so it still stretches and I can still cross my arms. But you see this right here? That's where it's tight. Weird. So all I have to say is, if you're going to make this pattern, just don't do it. Find a better pattern. There's plenty of better patterns out there. And if you're going to use the yarn, don't do it. But if you're going to use the yarn, use it in a different pattern, and just be prepared to glean it. I have a gleaner, so I can depill it in the wintertime. Because it's 80 degrees outside now, I'm definitely not gonna wear this until probably November or December this year. I kind of want to leave it on until I get too hot and take it off, but it is very heavy. So say goodbye to the yarn sausage. The saga has been completed. Say goodbye to the beautiful, beautiful rows of Tunisian stitches. There are so many wonderful Tunisian patterns. This is not one of them. And I'm just like folding this up. Look how giant this is. It's gonna take up like half my sweater drawer. But that's fine, because I have room in there now. All right, enough about the sweater that has been taking over my life for 2 years. I don't know why, but I'm having like a pain in my head right here. Go away, I'm trying to podcast. I have quite a bit of progress to show you on a couple of projects. So let's do the knitting project first. Actually, there's 2 knitting projects. One of them I think you'll be very excited about. This is a project bag that I made a couple of years ago and used interfacing that was much too stiff. So it's like paper and very wrinkly. And inside of this is the transition shawl, which is a pattern. Store that there. This is a pattern by Hand Knit by Cam. It is very beautiful. It took my breath away. This is also a pattern that has been on the go for a long, long time, and probably still will be on the go for a long time. I had a little bit of progress on the last episode to show you on this one. And for some reason, actually I know the reason, for a reason, this is the only thing I really wanted to work on. And the reason is because it is completely mindless. All I have to do is knit and purl. I don't have to count anything. I don't have to make sure. There's like a couple of yarn overs on the knit rows, but it's so intuitive. And I'm using this yarn from Webs. It is let me find webs. Charlemont, which is a 60% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 20% nylon. So there is a light gray, a dark gray, a light green, and a dark green. And I got this yarn, as I said, from Webs a while ago. And this is a project that has been on the go for a long time. This is the main color. And I'm like halfway through this skein. And I am all tangled up. It has grown a lot since 2 weeks ago. You see where this stitch marker is? It's halfway through the dark gray stripe. I have finished that gray stripe, done a light gray, a light green, a light gray, and part of a dark green stripe. It has grown like full on 3 inches. Is that 3 inches? Maybe? Yeah, that's gotta be like 3 inches, which may not seem like a lot to you, but there are 430 stitches on the needle right now, and it's gonna get up to like 600 before it's over. And one knit row takes me like 15-20 minutes. One per row takes me like 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how fast I'm going. Because, you know, it's like all scrunched up. There's no way for me to even show you. Look at all these ends from where I change colors. It's just gorgeous. And you can see the beautiful texture of the knits and the purls. So it is I don't know what they call it, a half a hexagon shawl. I don't know what they call that shape, but I have to actually do 28 rows in this green color, so I'm going to be on green for quite a while. And then there's like a couple more little stripes, and then the border, I think. And then the border is like I haven't even looked at it, some kind of ribbing. It's not brioche, but it looks like brioche pattern. So this is what I've been working on nonstop. I actually only worked, that didn't work. Let's do this. Just toss it over my shoulder. It's going to be gorgeous when it's done. I love the colors. And I don't actually have a lot of green in my wardrobe, like hardly any at all. But for some reason, this spoke to me. And I decided to do green instead of blue or hot pink like I always do. And this was quite a while ago, as you know, because this yarn has been in my stash forever, and this pattern was started forever ago. So what was I even saying before I went on that tangent? Oh yes, I worked on this like exclusively for 3 days because I was just feeling very anxious and very stressed out about everything that's going on and like what's happening in the world and what's happening with the church and my family, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But this was the only thing I wanted to reach for. And I actually gave myself a knitting injury, knitting on this pattern. Not like an arm injury or an repetitive stress injury. Like I hurt my finger, my pointer finger on my left hand, because I knit continental, because I was knitting, like I was stress knitting, and I was gripping the needle so tightly that after one purl row on Sunday night a couple of days ago, I was like, ow. And literally my finger has not stopped hurting since then. So I have not touched this in 3 days because I hurt myself stress knitting. I didn't even give myself a repetitive stress injury. I literally like sprained my finger knitting too tightly because I was stressed out. But it's beautiful anyways, so I'm very, very happy with it. And it's just a gorgeous pattern. And what I am going to try to do is what I should have done to begin with, which is knit a row on this, crochet something, crochet a row on something, purl a row on this, crochet a row on something. And so that it's not the same motion over and over and over again, which I know better. I know to do that, and I didn't do it because I was stressed out. But lots of progress on that. Very exciting. The next project you have never seen started. There's some crochet cotton. Find out what that's for in a minute. This is, where's the photo? The Long Line Cardigan by Joji Locatelli. This is my entry into the Mission Impossible MAL, which is a MAL that I am running for the entire year of 2020. And it is to make something that really, really challenges you. And this is going to really challenge me. First of all, it's a knit sweater. Secondly, it is in fingering weight. Thirdly, I am fading it. And fourthly, it has all kinds of techniques in here that I have no idea how to do. So I am using, I'll show you that in a second, this Skyrim yarn that was a gift for my birthday last year from the lovely Leah, who is Sheep Happens Yarn Company. And I will leave a link to her shop down below. She dyed me possibly the best gift on the planet ever. It was an 8 skein gradient set of Skyrim yarn, and they are all named after towns in Skyrim. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It's a video game. But if you know about Skyrim, you understand what an amazing gift this is. So this is a swatch that I did quite a while ago. Just gorgeous how this yarn works up. And my gauge is off of Joji Locatelli's gauge. Let's see. I'm supposed to be getting 24 stitches and 39 rows to 4 inches, but I am getting 28 stitches and 39 rows. So she gets 6 stitches per inch, I get 7 stitches per inch. So I was trying to figure out, how do I make this, because I really like this fabric. I don't want to go up needle sizes and take out 4 stitches from this. I really, really like how this fabric and this yarn is working up. So I was like, okay, let me do some math. Let me figure out how to make this work. So she has a schematic and everything. However, the cardigan has, let me show you the photo again. These pieces right here, they actually overlap, but there's nowhere in the pattern that says how much they overlap. So I figured it out. Oh, I reverse engineered it. So basically she's getting 6 stitches per inch, and at the bust point, the widest point of this garment, before any kind of shaping, there is, for the large size, there's 308 stitches. So I actually took the stitch count and I divided by the stitch gauge per inch, and that gave me how many inches around total the thing would be, even with the overlapping fronts. And with that, I was able to figure out that I'm going to make the large measurements and use the extra large stitch counts. So I'm gonna cast on and knit using the extra large stitch counts for the entire thing. But if it says knit to however many inches, I'm going to use the large measurements because that's what will fit my body. I was so stinking proud of myself to figure that out. I was like, oh my gosh, you have no idea. I was like, again, jumping around the house because I'm stuck at home and I can't go anywhere. And my husband was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, okay, listen, it's a big deal. And actually he was very excited about this because he also loves Skyrim. We share a love of Skyrim. And so he's very excited to see this come to life, even though he knows it will be months and months and months before it happens. So I'm gonna show you the colors. This is the first color. This is the colorway Solitude. This one is Unraveling. This is the colorway, oh dang, it's like, I really wrapped these like way in there. Is it Dawn Star perhaps? Yes, I was right. This is Dawn Star. Then we have something I can't read because, why did I put I put the tags like way in there because I wanted to make sure that they did not fall out. And now I can barely read. What? Is this like riveting yarn content or what? Watching me dig inside of a yarn ball? Winterhold. This is Winterhold. This is the color that you first, the town that you first arrive at in Skyrim. Classic town, if you ask me. So we've got that one. Then we have Morthal. It's getting darker. Then Windhelm, which this, if you've played that game, this looks like Windhelm, that's for sure. I'm gonna put these down. Then, I don't know which one is next. I think this one. Then we have Riften, where the Thieves Guild is, of course. And then we have Whiterun. Did I say that this was where you go? This other one is where you go first. Whiterun is where you go first. Where did I say that we go first? Ignore me, okay? Maybe I know nothing of Skyrim, even though I spent hundreds of hours of my life playing that game. And finally, finally, falk wreath, the darkest one of all. So I'm going to be fading all of these skeins, and I have them in order on my Ravelry project page, exactly how I want them to go. And I have a pin that she sent me, College of Winterhold, which of course is not going to focus, but that is going to go on this bag now that I've started. And I have only gotten a tiny bit done, but it's because this required brain power. And this is how much I have. So now you know what the crochet cotton is for. I learned how to do a provisional cast on. So I used crochet cotton and I did a provisional cast on, and now I've knit this way to the point that I am supposed to. And now I'm going to put these stitches on hold, pick up these stitches, undo the provisional cast on, and then knit this way for a while. So that's gonna require a little bit of concentration, but just gorgeous the way that's working up. So this is such a unique construction because this, just imagine this is the back of my head. You actually start this at the back of your neck. So this is where the back seam is gonna be, and you knit one way and then you knit the other way, and then you do a shoulder thing, and then you like, it's crazy, the construction in this pattern. This is why it's my Mission Impossible project. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But of course I gave myself a knitting injury, and can I knit on it? No! What was I thinking? Tragedy! Oh, the horror! Okay, enough drama. That's all the knitting. I do have some crochet. I have 2 crochet cardigans that I've been working on. One, I'll do the one that has just a little bit of progress. Oh, it's way over here. First, it's living in this Halloween sweater bag because this is Halloween. Everybody make a scene. It's not Halloween, but we can all still make a scene. This is the Chelsea cardigan by Vicky Chan. And I just finished round 14. So the stitch marker right here is where I was last time. So I've done this much since then, which is only a few rounds, but these rounds of course are getting longer and longer. And I had to rip one out because you really have to pay attention. Like, I can't work on this and watch TV. Funny story. My husband and I started watching the Tiger King documentary series on Netflix last night, and I got through 2 rounds and then I had to rip one out because I had no idea where I was. I couldn't find my place in the pattern. So I had to rip one out, and then I started to do the next row and I had to rip out that round as well because I realized I put my stitches in entirely the wrong place. So I can only do this. I'm trying to do this 1 round at a time. And look at the beautiful lace. And I actually checked my gauge a little bit when I was done maybe 10 rounds, and it was pretty on point. It's a little bit tight, but it's not horrible. So pretty excited about that. I have 3 more rounds in the actual flower square. Then it has a border. And then, so that's like 22 rounds. And then it has like some other stuff you have to do. So basically you work to a certain size square, and then you somehow do join and work back and forth to make a cardigan. How? I don't know, because I haven't gotten there yet. But as always, I love Vicky Chan's patterns. That's why I'm making this one, and that's why I made my Angela cardigan, and that's why I made my Ariana cardigan, and that's why I'm also making the Angela. So this yarn is Knit Picks Hawthorne Fingering Graffiti Speckle, which is a little outside of my normal comfort zone, but I think as a cardigan, it will be gorgeous. So happy to have a few rows on that done. And then finally, as far as cardigans are concerned, I have made some significant progress on my Angela cardigan. And this is using Loops and Threads Wool-like. Angela is also a cardigan pattern by Vicky Chan. I don't know where I put the pattern. It's somewhere in this house. I don't need it at the moment because I'm just working mesh. I am actually on my 2nd ball of Wool-like. I used an entire ball. That's 678 yards. That's a lot. So this is where I was last time. And I have done this much. That's a lot of rows because one row this also takes me 20 minutes. I have only been working on this like during the day when I have minutes from work or my lunch break or in the morning before work starts. So let me show you. It's like this mesh, but of course it's actually a lot bigger. Look how much that's going to stretch. So it looks like I've made this much, but actually I've made this much. Of course it's going to need blocked, but it's very, very long. Very long, and as we all know, I am using a yarn that is much thinner than called for in the pattern and a different fiber, and I crochet tightly. So I am using the 3XL stitch counts, which means I'm doing a lot of extra crochet to make the medium/large size. But it's working out beautifully, and it's been getting a lot of love because I've been home. And then finally, two things. One is a classic example of why my brain has not been working and why you should be careful about frogging things when you're nervous. So everyone knows this design that I have been kind of working on and off. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. I picked this up because I was like, oh, I'm home. This will be a perfect time to work on this design. It's going to be fabulous. And then I worked one row, I messed it up. I had to rip out that one row and redo it. And I really had an overwhelming urge to frog the entire thing and try something else. I put it down. I was like, whoa, whoa. Everyone knows no frogging when you're angry. No frogging when you're angry. And also no frogging when you're stressed out and anxious. No, don't do it. You sleep on it. So I've been thinking about what to do. It was going to kind of be a makeup as you go, which it may still be, but I kind of wanted to have some kind of structure, and I don't love this lace part. That's kind of what was throwing me off. This is yarn on the Prairie yarn in the colorway Voltage and blue, electric blue, which she sent to me as lovely yarn support to make a design. And it's living in this fabulous bag that a viewer of this podcast named Emmy sent to me. So it's just an amazing color and an amazing yarn. But the moral of the story is, I'm glad I didn't frog it. Don't frog when you're angry and don't frog when you're stressed out because your brain is lying to you. You may need to frog it, but just make sure that you wait until you're calm and rational. That's the best part. That's the best thing to do. So the other thing I'm going to show you, I don't have visible progress on, but it is about to be something. And you'll remember from a few episodes back, this is my swatch for a cardigan pattern that I am making. You see it has ribbing and it has black lacy, beautiful lace. This is Holst Super Soft. It is definitely a woolly wool and not what I would consider super soft, but it will be just fine. It's very inexpensive. I got so much of this yarn and it's very, very inexpensive. Even with shipping, it was on sale. So I think I paid $40 for 700 grams of yarn, which is like a lot of yards because this is a light fingering weight. Without it being on sale, I think it would have been $50 for 700 grams of pure wool yarn. So the reason I'm showing this to you is because I have graded the pattern. I was not going to allow myself to start working on the sample until I have measured my swatch, pulled out all the measurements that I need, and graded it. And it has been graded by me, a person who doesn't even like math, because I'm taking that class from Aroha Knits, who is Frenchie Francois Denoy of Aroha Knits. She has the swatch studio. So because I'm taking that, I was able to grade this pattern in 9 sizes. It is going to go from a 30-inch bust to a 62-inch bust. And there is definitely, I'm just going to say it this way. This pattern is going to have like 30 inches of ease, which sounds insane, but is roughly the same amount of ease that you would find in my Ariana cardigan, which you've seen me wearing. It's the same amount of ease that's going to be in this cardigan pretty much. So it's not really going to have armholes. It's going to come around your elbow. That's where your armhole is going to be. So it's going to be soft, like drapey, flowy, lacy, something that you can wear in Florida, even though it's wool. And I was talking to somebody about it and they were like, okay, but if you have 30 inches of ease, why would you need so many sizes? Just make like 3 sizes and then people can kind of fit their way in the middle. Well, frankly, because I don't think there's enough size inclusive patterns, number 1. And number 2, if you are a 50-inch bust, you should be able to have the same amount of ease as everyone else. So mine goes from like 30, it jumps by 4-inch increments. But let's say I had a 30 to a 44-inch bust as my small/medium, or let's say 30 to 40, let's say 30 to 40-inch bust is my small/medium. That's 10 inches of ease that you're not getting. So I understand it's a little redundant to make all of the sizes have when there's that much ease, but I really wanted it to be a pattern that everyone could have the exact same amount of ease if they want. And of course, if they don't, they can adjust the pattern in any way they like. And they don't have to make it with that much ease. But, I can tell that the air kicked off. Maybe you can hear me better now. Because right here where this wool is touching my scalp is a little bit prickly because it's getting warmer in here. I'm glad I took that purple cardigan off. I'd be like dying by now. So all that to say, the grading has been done and the pattern is halfway written. At least the first part is done, and I am borrowing construction methods from Vicki Chan. Although she's not the only one who has constructed cardigans this way. It just was the first time I had actually made a cardigan. It's the only thing I'm borrowing from her. Okay. And the construction is not like a copyrighted thing, but basically her Ariana cardigan starts in the mid back, and you work up and then you work down. Well, mine is actually not going to start in the mid back. It's going to start like right here on the back of your neck, but you're going to work down the back and down the front and then join, because that's brilliant. Brilliant. So very excited about that construction. Very excited about this pattern. This is how much I had left of the first 50 grams. And I will show you. I have 4 of those little 50-gram balls. And then I have 500 grams. And I think I'm going to make the entire cardigan out of this thing and see how far I can get. And it is going to turn my hand black 100% because the spinning oil on this thing is ridiculous. And it is going to turn my hook black. So much dye is going to rub off of this. This is like working with floss almost. That's how much spinning oil is on here. And this is like fluffed up. So excited. So I believe that I have a name for this pattern. Tell me what you think. I would love to know what you think. I'm going to be calling this the Obsidian Cardigan. What do you think? Tell me. So that was all very, very exciting. I got the grading done. And now I'm going to do a few tweaks, and then I think I will be able to start making the sample. So that is all the yarny things that I have. That's all that I've been working on. I have been home, of course. So let's talk life, shall we? It has been quite an intense 2 weeks because, of course, everyone is worried about the virus. We just got our stay-at-home order today in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live, although a lot of things has been closed for 2 weeks almost. My job started letting me work from home last Tuesday, so it's been 8 days since I've been working from home, it's going okay. I had to bring like my actual computer home, so my whole kitchen table is like covered in monitors and cords and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm very, very thankful to be able to work from home right now. Who knows how long that will last. My job is still open currently. We're still working normal business hours. I work for a law office. But of course, if there is no clients coming in, who knows? Because there's only so many weeks that the business can survive without pay. And all of the restaurants here are to go only. The bars and pubs and things have been closed for 30 days. We're pretty much only going out to get groceries. We're staying in our house. Church has been canceled, of course. So the grand opening that we had on March 1st, who knew that we were only going to have 3 services and then the whole thing would be canceled until further notice. So I've been we pre-recorded a message. By we, I mean me. I pre-recorded a Sunday sermon to go up last Sunday, and I'll do the same thing for this Sunday and again until we can see each other in person again. And it has, thankfully, we had toilet paper before this all started because I generally buy it like once every few months from Sam's Club, which is like a big wholesale place. So thankfully I had some toilet paper already in the closet. We have been able to get everything we need, but I know that a lot of people are unable to find the grocery store. There's a lot of grocery stores near where I live. There's like 4 Publixes within 2 miles from my house. And if you don't know what a Publix is, it's because you don't live in Florida. But it's basically the greatest grocery store of all time. So they have reduced hours. Everywhere seems to have reduced hours. And last night was the first time I had left the house in 4 or 5 days because we had to run to Target and get a couple of things like shampoo and stuff like that. And some dish soap, which I only was able to find like a little tiny one, but hey, that works for me as long as I have stuff to clean my dishes. The grocery stores are still open and essential services are open, but everything else is pretty quiet. It's very weird. I actually have been really, really enjoying being at home. And how am I going to go back to real life after this is a main question. Like, am I gonna have to put on like real clothes again when we're allowed out of the house? But it's not, people are like, oh, don't you just love being at home? Isn't this great? I'm like, it's not great, okay? Our economy is like, people are like literally dying. People are getting sick. People are frantic. People can't find toilet paper. Supplies are unlimited. Like, it's not a great time. Even if you're at home, it's just like a weird, stressful time, which is why I really needed to knit on that project and just knit, because I know I have some friends who are like, I cleaned my whole house. I did yard work. I accomplished this thing. I'm going to write a novel. And I'm like, I don't know where you're getting the brain power because I'm so tired at the end of the day. It's like this generalized anxiety about everything that's going on. And I try to stay to limit myself on my phone, but it's really hard because you want to be kept up to date, you know? And I understand that I certainly don't have it anywhere near as rough as people in the healthcare profession that are just working nonstop and not having the supplies that they need. And people that have already been laid off or already lost their jobs. My heart just goes out to you. I know that we can get through this together, but I also know that this really sucks. And believe me when I say I feel you. I have been laid off before from jobs, and it is a distinct possibility that if this goes on for a couple of more weeks and we are just not allowed to leave, and there's no business where I work, that I will not have a job either. So it's definitely a concern. My husband always works from home, so this is normal for him. But his work has been a little bit slower as well recently. So, you know, that's hard to think about. Right now, we're just kind of taking it one day at a time. I'm trying to lean into my yarn time. I'm trying to make sure I go to bed at 10 p.m. because I definitely don't want to add not sleeping to the list of things that I'm stressed out about, because then I will be so emotional. It has been lovely to spend time with my husband. That's a huge positive for this. We are often so busy that we like see each other barely on a day, and I'm gone and he's gone, and it's just been really, really nice to get to talk to him like a lot because it's just been a while since we've had this kind of time together. So that is really, really wonderful, and I'm really grateful for that. Another positive thing that I did, and I've never done this before ever, is I made bread. Yes, I baked bread because I hurt my finger, and then I just got a wild hair to bake a loaf of bread. So I found a recipe online. It was like butter with a side of bread. I think that's the website name, and it's like easy bread recipe. And my husband found me some yeast. He was so funny because I was like, hey, I just need some yeast to make bread. So he brought me back the actual dry yeast that you need to make bread. And he also brought me a giant bag of nutritional yeast, which is not at all what you need to make bread. So that's just in our cupboard now. So I made bread. That recipe, actually, in the future, I think I could cut in half because it makes 2 loaves of bread, and I don't need 2 loaves of bread. But I have been having toast for breakfast every morning since I made bread. Oh my gosh, it's so delicious. I definitely underbaked I made 2 loaves because I only had 1 loaf pan. So I put one on like just a flat pan and one inside the loaf pan. The one inside the loaf pan I left in for 5 more minutes, and it was definitely better. The taste is fine on either of them, but the one that wasn't in there quite as long is a little bit underbaked. It's not soggy or gooey. It's definitely cooked all the way through, but down at the bottom, the texture is like a little bit off. And like to the point where, you know, Paul Hollywood from the Great British Baking Show would like poke it with his thumb and be like, underbaked. Yes, he would say that, but I don't care. My standards are much lower, and I have been eating toast and jam for breakfast. I have been toasting bread in my toaster oven, and I actually ate a piece of toast right before I sat down to record this because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be really hungry and I need toast. So that was a huge positive. I baked bread, and now I have to go find more yeast. Hopefully there's some. I'm gonna try and go out to the grocery store tomorrow. When we were at Target last night, I had just a weird list of like things that I wanted to eat. One of them was you know those little sweet pickles, like the little gherkin pickles? I really wanted some. They did not have any. I also wanted some popcorn of the Orville Redenbacher butter flavor. They did not have any. I wanted some cashew milk. They did not have any. I wanted some, oh gosh, there was something else, and I don't remember what it was, but there was like 4 or 5 things that I was like, oh, they just don't have any of it. None of it. They had none of it. So I'll go to the grocery store tomorrow and see if they have anything, since they hopefully have been restocking. I need to get more yeast because I think I will be making another loaf of bread for next week, possibly. Of course, if they don't have any flour. I have 1 pound of white whole wheat flour, and then I had just regular white flour in a tin. So I used almost all the white flour, and now I have the white whole wheat flour. So I think I need to look up a recipe for that. And then make more bread and just eat bread all the time forever. So that's all, I guess. It's just been crazy. Like, how are you feeling? I know I asked that 2 weeks ago, like, how are you feeling? We can all support each other. I think we definitely can. I would love to know how you're feeling. Are you feeling this same anxiety that I'm feeling? Are you doing okay? Do you have like a stay-at-home order to like not leave your house except for essential services, or is where you live still kind of everyone out and about? I would love to know. What are you working on? What are you using to occupy the time? Just comment below. Tell me all of those things, any of those things, or just one of those things, or something completely unrelated. I just would love to have a conversation with you. I value your input, and I'm so grateful that you are here. I have been looking forward to podcasting all week because I knew Wednesday was podcast day and I would get to talk to you, and it just makes me really happy, even with everything that's going on. So don't forget that the November Sky Beanie has officially been released to the interweb, and the coupon code for podcast viewers only will be down below. For everyone else, there will be the Pay What Works model on Ravelry. Don't forget one thing, to drink water. I like barely drank one of these on Monday, and I was like, whoa, that's not acceptable. So today, this is my 3rd one. Drink some water. Did you know that one of the first signs that you are dehydrated is you get grouchy? So definitely drink some water. Try to be kind to yourself. Don't feel like you have to be super productive, because I definitely am just trying to keep it together and keep in contact with all my friends and family. And we will see how everything unfolds for the next 2 weeks. It could be completely different by the time I talk to you again. But until I talk to you again, be kind to yourself, stay safe, stay healthy, stay home if at all possible. And if you are not able to stay home and you are out there working because you are really needed for that, then my prayers and my thoughts are with you, and I'm sending you a giant virtual internet hug. So until I see you again, happy crafting. Bye.